Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Most Improved. I'm your host, Carly. Today, we're going to talk about what this show is going to be about, why I think it's important. I'd like to share how I chose the name because it's kind of an inside joke that won't be funny to anyone if you don't know it. And then also start with the first virtue. So I do want to share why I think that this podcast is really important. I've found this book called Hope for Cynics. I haven't read the whole thing, so I can't say it's a great read, and I totally recommend it. But it did jump out to me because it says the surprising science of human goodness. And I am so into that. That's literally why I want to do this podcast. And this book just essentially reaffirmed it. I would not say I'm a cynic at all. And the more I read this and it defines that, I'm like, yeah, I'm not that. That's cool. But essentially, in this book, it kind of gave me the data for the feelings that I had of why we need this. And summarizing it, it's essentially humanity is losing faith in humanity. I want to restore faith in humanity, basically, on a small scale, just something really easy to do on the side. But it was saying from the 1970s to 2022, trust in the presidency fell from 52% to 23%, newspapers from 39% to 18%, Congress from 42% to 7%. That's embarrassing. And then schools from 58% to 28%. Now, also, I want to identify, I think because I am pretty optimistic, but / also realist, I'm these initial numbers aren't even worth calling home about either. The highest one is 58%, which was in schools. Maybe it's impossible to get to 100%, but I feel like we should be majority able to trust our institutions and even more so people. And I thought an interesting statistic was it said in 1972, 50% of Americans agreed that most people can be trusted. And then by 2018, only 33% of Americans agreed that most people could be trusted. So again, we're literally losing faith in each other. So that's why we need to become better people. We need to restore faith in each other. And for me, it's an individual journey that I want to pour a lot of my energy into, more just consistent energy. This isn't something we can obsess over all day, but I think it is just a mindfulness of our daily efforts. I think that by design, everything in life and in this world is here for our growth. So I think just being mindful and raising our awareness in moments, training ourselves how to respond and not just react, and just be a little bit more intentional. I think it just gives meaning to suffering, or purpose to lessons and purpose to growth. And also I thought it was interesting in the book, it says, most people do feel like they are trustworthy, but then also kind of most people don't totally trust everyone else, which it just doesn't work, right? If genuinely everyone's working on being a trustworthy, good human, we should be able to trust each other. But humanity's proving that we're just not there yet. We can improve, which leads me to this show, because I think life is about growth and it's about improving bit by bit. There isn't a state of perfection or completion at this, but if we're rewarding our steps and our efforts, I think that can feel really good. So to tell you a little bit about why I named the show Most Improved. Growing up, I played a lot of different sports, and the award that I typically got was Most Improved. 100%. I remember in swimming, I got it. And in basketball, and I would say in basketball, it was my senior year, was I kind of feel like I'm crushing it. I knew I want to get MVP because my best friend got that, and she just actually legitimately was the best player out there. But I think for some reason, I always viewed the Most Improved award as a little pat on the head. You work so hard. You used to be really bad, and now you're just not so bad. And I didn't actually understand that it's a huge compliment. The fact that you work really hard and you make efforts and growth. Now as an adult, I'm that's the end all be all. If you're trying to improve, and it makes it more about a healthy competition with yourself. right? It's just about being a little bit better version of yourself, whether you're reflecting at the end of each day where like, oh, here's some areas that I can improve. That's like the goal. And so to me, most improved is literally the greatest compliment or highest award that I think you can get, especially when it comes to your character, right? If someone says like, wow, like you've really grown as a person, that's a huge compliment. So it was just kind of something that when it came to me, I was like, yeah, actually, I always thought that was just like kind of like a consolation award I used to get. And I'm like, no, I think I'm really good at this. I think I'm really good at working hard and improving. And one thing I've learned through life doing athletics is, I mean, the world is like pretty obsessed with our bodies right now, right? There's like fitness everywhere. There's how-tos, like any type of way to work your body or transform your body or whatever is out there. And I've learned a lot through athletics. I've learned, so many lessons that are really valuable. And I was like, well, what if I took those disciplines or those lessons and transferred them into developing these virtues, which I would call like spiritual qualities, divine attributes, virtue. So I want to define that because a friend brought up to me that many people can think virtues as very different things. So essentially a virtue, giving the most direct example, would be like courage, justice, kindness, love, integrity, right? These are different virtues. So they're essentially, it's about moral excellence, commendable qualities or traits. These are usually positive and universal. So it's accessible to everyone, right? So this is something we can all do. You don't have to have a special skill set. You don't have to buy a special pair of like tight pants or anything like that. You can literally improve your character in any type of pants, any type of outfit, in any type of setting. And that's what to me makes this seem so important, because it's literally a universal purpose that will improve the world. Bam, I said it. I literally like, boom, drop that bomb. Like if we're all working on ourselves, it's changing the environment around us and it is changing the world. So I think often I don't know, I feel like certain qualities are just like, I wish I had more patience, and then we just carry on. It's like, no, like what if you took a disciplined approach and you recognized, wow, to get more patience, I do need to put myself in environments that are challenging, that test my patience, and that's how you grow it, right? So it's just like a muscle in the gym. If you want it to get bigger, you have to strain it, you have to stress it, you have to work it. And so we know a lot about fitness, and it's really transferable and it's really useful. So like if you want to flex your soul, right? Maybe this is like a flex for your soul, right? It's just strengthening these different attributes. So it's striving for excellence in our character. And the cool thing is, like, I think if you just reflect on your day, you'll find areas that either you're really strong in already. Obviously we can still improve, but those areas of weakness, they just need more opportunities to grow, right? Like, sometimes we look at someone and go, they are not patient. It's not that they're not patient. It's just like, they're like such a teeny bit. It's really hard to see. You have to look really hard, right? In your child, you might be like, wow, you're not being patient at all. Well, no, they probably are to like potentially the max amount of their capacity, which they're developing, right? So to me, this is about developing our capacities. There's a quote in the Baha'i faith that says, seek that which is worthy of praise. And I think that's something we have to train ourselves also to do within ourselves. Acknowledge the areas that we definitely need to get better at. The world's going to like sling those at us. But also it's really important to recognize when we do well and, the praiseworthy parts and behaviors in our life. So every episode, I'm choosing a virtue. I don't know if anyone else has heard of the Virtues Project. That's where I'm pulling these from. I don't know how to do this. I essentially kind of grew up knowing about these, and they have a pack of cards. They have this app online. Eventually, I feel like I should tell them I'm doing this because I'm using them a lot. But it's really empowering. Well, first of all, it's pretty awesome I don't even know if this is an exhaustive list, but to like really dive into the virtues and their meaning. I think sometimes there's been times that I'm like, oh, I've done that. I just didn't know it was called something. And I think that's really cool. And so they have different packs of cards, but also when it's online, it's not like a pack of cards. So I don't know what you would call that. But it gives like a definition and like how to practice it and just really good tangible, concrete backing to each virtue. So that's what each episode, I'll be choosing a virtue, learning about it, and then if I have them, which I probably do, but I have to think like, can I share this or sharing? But sharing personal stories, because I know that I'm always really encouraged when someone else shares with me a personal story of either like struggle or something that they overcame, or sometimes it just brings a little bit of humor, right? Like sometimes these things can be like, we can get really hard on ourselves. And instead of being able to just like recognize, like not make it bigger than what it needs to be, like just sometimes verbalizing it, getting it out there, having a laugh allows us to press on and keep learning and growing. So that's ultimately what this show is about. It's about being most improved. So it really is this like personal initiative that I'm just sharing with others, and I hope people find interesting. And I would love, honestly, ultimately, if this encouraged other people to do it themselves, to share it with their friends, like kind of have accountability partner, like, excuse me, really just about, it's like about extending my friendship to others and just being there to cheer each other on and support each other. And I have an email address that, if I know how, I'll post on on here somewhere or share at the end of the show, because I don't know, I would love to hear people's thoughts and reflections. This show is literally called Most Improved. So any way that I can improve it, like eventually I would love for there to be different segments and maybe even guests on the show, because I think the cool thing is everything we choose to do in life is just a vehicle for developing these qualities, right? So everyone works in different fields, has different professions, different jobs, different hobbies, different activities. Yet while you're doing those, you can be mindful of what it is helping you develop. Like when I think of athletics, so much of what I learned about discipline or attitude or communicating or confidence, vulnerability, just so many qualities I was able to work on in athletics. And so again, I think whatever job someone has, I would say society typically we're like, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? Like that seems to be the most important thing. I would sort of argue that it's just the vehicle for the most important thing, which is to develop our spiritual qualities and become good humans. Ultimately, I want us to be a good human, or I want to be a good human, and then like you can do what you want. But I think it'd be really great if other people wanted to be good humans as well. So the virtue that I wanted to start with today, which I binged around, bounced back and forth between a lot of them, because how do you know where to start? It's so hard to know where to start. But the one I wanted to start with today is enthusiasm, because that's how I've been feeling about this show. I've also had a lot of feelings of like nervousness and insecurity, and quite honestly, just wanting it to be really perfect. Like, I think it's really difficult right now. So many people have podcasts and so many people are putting out these really polished things, and it's really hard to start something new, right? Like we let a baby fall down and stuff. And then once we become adult, we're like, I cannot do anything unless I'm already perfect at it. And then we end up not doing a lot of things. So this is just kind of like, boop, kicking myself in the butt and being like, literally, this show is called Most Improved. It's not called Most Perfect or starting out the best. So I knew that I just needed to go for it. And enthusiasm was how I was feeling. And when I started reading it, I was like, how cool to maybe start with a virtue that I kind of think I'm already pretty good at. So just to define it, which this first part I think is really cool. So it says enthusiasm is being filled with spirit. It means God within. And then I Googled it and I was like, for real? I took some very official notes here, and it's very organized, just like my brain. I thought I wrote it down somewhere, but maybe I didn't. Oh yeah, right at the top in big letters, to be filled with God when I Googled it. So, the root stems of the word and stuff like that, you'll find I'm not like a professional linguist or a scientist. So if you want to have more depth, do your own work, people. Just kidding. But it says to be filled with God. And this is so interesting. I'm doing a little children's class right now with my kids and some other friends. And the first virtue we did was pure heart. And it talks about how our hearts are like mirrors and we're reflecting these attributes from a light source, which is God. So I thought it was so crazy that when I chose this one, that enthusiasm literally means filled with God, which to me is like, it means we're then also radiating out joy. I could go so many different directions with this, but yeah, everything from God is good. So to me, enthusiasm, the fact that God is within and sort of radiating out, of course it's good. So I need to keep defining this, but also what's coming to mind is from a basketball camp. I think these were called NBC camps growing up. Like at the start of every day, we would say, boy, am I enthusiastic. I am feeling great. And I mean, it sounds silly, but it's like, try to say that in like a sad, lame, want Eeyore kind of way. You just can't. So I think sometimes part of it is just the spirit at which we say something or the attitude that we choose to have. Anyway, to go into defining enthusiasm, it's being filled with spirit, right? So it's kind of like spirit finger. I don't know. Again, I always go to athletics. So like being that person on the bench that's like cheering your team on, and I don't want to go too athletic-y, but essentially every person on the team is so important. And to be that person bringing the enthusiasm, you can literally carry a team in one of two directions. So enthusiasm is being cheerful and happy. It is doing something wholeheartedly with zeal and eagerness. It's giving 100% to what you do, holding nothing back. Being enthusiastic is being excited about something, looking forward to it. It comes with having a positive attitude. You enjoy yourself with enthusiasm. Even the dullest job can be fun. So this is where I like do want to kind of toot my horn and like pat my back a little bit, because, and I guess also say thank you to my parents, because that was an attitude that I've either developed in life or carried through. I always find myself telling my kids, like, you can do anything, and with the right attitude, you can make it fun. So I've never been worried about what job I have, like what it is, because I know I will always bring the right attitude into it. And I do. So that's like, again, I can always get better, because there is moments in life where I'm like not super enthusiastic, and you know, that some other pull gets the best of me. But I just love this idea of enthusiasm So that was one card, and there was actually, I sort of have like the child version and the adult version. So there's probably some overlap. But on this sort of more adult one, it says, we live with enthusiasm. We are excited about life and are open to the wonders each day holds. To me, that's just like such an optimistic way to start the day, right? Like just kind of like the potentials of the day, like how exciting. Even when there's things that we have to do that make us a little bit nervous. We do things wholeheartedly. Talked about that. We allow the excitement of the moment to fill us. So this is something that I feel like in adulthood, we're kind of taught to like contain it a little bit. And I would say, especially as I've gotten older, I just let that stuff ooze out. Like if you've met me and I want to be your friend, you'll know. Like I'll just tell you, because I just think it's so silly to sort of hold back and play it cool. Like, I just don't think I really need to be cool at this point in my life anymore. In fact, little side story, when I first got married, I moved to England. That's where my husband was, and he had a big boy job. And at the time, I owned 2 suitcases. So my whole life fit in 2 suitcases. So it was very easy for me to move there. Well, easy as in like hop on a flight with bags. There was a lot that wasn't hard. This was like new husband, new marriage, new country, no friends. I knew no one else there. I wasn't allowed to work because for the first 6 months, it takes about 6 months to get a visa. So it was a lot of transitions at the same time. And I remember we opened a bank account, and the banker lady was so friendly. She just seemed so cool. She had her cute little British accent, which, you know, already bumped her up as super cool in my mind. And when we left opening the bank account, I was like, gosh, like I really want to be her friend. And Baha was like, no, like people in England don't, my husband, he was like, yeah, like people here don't really do that. Like British are a little bit more reserved, like that might be a little bit out there. And so I sort of like shut it down for a little bit. And then when she called to let us know our bank cards were in, I just enjoyed talking to her on the phone again. And I was like, you know what? I got off the phone with her and I was like, I got to be this girl's friend, or I got to at least try. I gotta ask. And if she says no, I had no friends before and I would have no friends after. So not a big deal. And I called my husband at work and I was like, talk to our banker. I'm calling her back right now to ask her to be my friend. And he was like, okay, let me know how that goes. So I did. I called her back and was like, hi, this is a little bit forward and a little bit unusual, but I just really enjoyed chatting with you and I would love to be your friend. And she was so tickled, dare I say. And she really actually seemed to appreciate it, whether she did or not suppress her feelings. We met up a few times on our lunch break, and she actually took me to different places to show me around the area, and it was really nice. And it took me sort of expressing my enthusiasm to be her friend. And I do think the world needs more of that. I think we tend to be a little bit more reserved, a little bit more how we might look. I watch my kids, like, they see a kid on the playground and they just run up to each other and they start playing. They don't have to go into like, what's your name and your age and what do you do? They really kind of just start on, to me, this like, I would say just this like soul level, like you're a soul, I'm a soul, like I see you. And then they sort of like get to the other pieces after this connection, which I just find really cool and attractive and something that I think we can learn from children, just enthusiasm. Really. My kids run out of school every day and, well, they used to run out and give me a big hug. Now they like throw their backpack at me and run to the playground, but they're enthusiastic to go to the playground. So that's cool. So we allow the excitement of the moment to fill us. Yeah. Like if you do something cool, like get excited, right? Like to me, I'm like, I'm starting this first episode of the podcast. I am so excited. I am so enthusiastic. I'm not even going to play it cool. I'm not going to act like I have it all figured out and put together. But I definitely have some excitement in this moment. We enjoy good humor. I certainly do enjoy a bit of good humor. We live in the moment and appreciate what we have. Now that's interesting that it's part of enthusiasm. This is where a lot of virtues, I think, overlap, right? Because it literally has the word appreciate. So obviously there's some appreciation in there. But I think the living in the moment is huge. Finding joy in simple pleasures. And that I think is something we all know and just need reminders. Like joy is there in every single little bitty thing. And I think, again, looking at children is a good way to learn and be reminded. Like it's the littlest things, right? Like when you're watching a baby, like you're so excited when they get the spoon in their mouth, right? So I think just finding that again, retaining it and being willing to express it. I think sometimes what we're worried about is that someone's not going to share the same enthusiasm we do. And then we sort of feel like we got to hold it up for the team, you know? And we just have to remember like, okay, that's just like something they're working on, you know? Like they might not see the enthusiasm in this moment I do, and that's totally okay. You know, no big deal. Like, don't let it rain on your parade, or just remember, it's like, stay in your lane, right? Like, cool. I'm bringing the joy in this moment, and they don't see it yet, but that's just something, you know, they just have like a little bit of joy in that moment, and you're developing the capacity to have more, right? Enthusiasm is a virtue. This isn't just something that like is sometimes there and sometimes isn't. It makes me think of, I read something the other day where it says motivation comes from doing. So sometimes we're like, I'm not motivated. I'm not going to do it till I become motivated. Well, the way motivation comes is through action. And that's one thing I've realized starting this podcast. You'll never feel ready. Like there's no perfect point of being ready, but it's the act of doing that will bring the motivation. Kind of like workout, right? People say like, just do it for 10 minutes. And if it doesn't come after 10 minutes, then like maybe today's not the day. But usually if you've done it for like 10 minutes, you'll keep going. And so I think starting anything can be really similar. Like to me, enthusiasm, motivation, like a lot of it's just like, just give it a try. Do that silly little cheer. Boy, am I enthusiastic. I am feeling great. Just do that a couple times and then try not to be enthusiastic. You can't. It's cute. It's fun. It's catchy. You love it. I love it. All right. We are cheerful and optimistic about what is to come. Enthusiasm helps us to imagine what is possible. We follow our dreams with true joy. That's a toughie because I feel like sometimes, like, okay, here, another story. So for example, doing this podcast, I've had this like little desire burning in my heart to do this for a very long time. I feel like virtues are important. I want to be intentional about them. I want to make friends along the way. I want to extend friendship to other people. Like, to me, it's just, I don't know. It's kind of just like been on my brain and my soul and my heart for like a long time. Right. So it's like you talk about a little dream and you sort of like protect it because you don't want people's opinions, or, you know, maybe if the fire is like super teeny, like literally like a drop of your saliva would put out my light right now. So we kind of protect it. And then all the doubts come and the insecurities, and it's so easy to talk ourselves out of stuff. I literally was like, you know what? I can do this. I have the vision. I'm going to buy a microphone. And like, there was like two things I seemed to need. Ultimately, I guess I bought those two things and they arrived, and I was like, you know, I think that I probably need to create a whole podcast studio. I'm pretty sure that's what I actually have to do. Like, there's no way you could possibly just like start a podcast into a mic in any room, even though you totally can. So we have this room in our house that's been this sort of end all be all clutter closet, and it was like totally unfinished. Like, it had a piece of plywood up on one wall, like half drywall somewhere, exposed beams, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I want that room and I want to learn how to finish it. So I was like, bought myself quite a bit of time because I didn't know how to do any of this. So straight up, I was like pulling off drywall, installing insulation, putting up drywall, like taping, mudding, sanding. My husband installed lights and electrical sockets. I mean, priming, painting. I installed the floors, the baseboards, and then the room was ready. And I was like, well, it's not like furnished properly. And then, so I've gotten a few items. It's fine. I'm actually in the room. But it was funny because originally when I had like I thought it was going to be the first episode, I didn't even do it in this room because I was like, it's just too like pristine. Like, it just felt too crisp and new and clean. Right. So it was like excuses kept coming. I'm like, I don't know, there's just no way I can do it until everything's perfect. And so it was really funny because the other day I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I got to attach this mic to the desk and rock and roll because I got a desk. I got a chair. Let's go. And I kid you not, as I was attaching the mic to the desk, which was tempered glass, like maybe others would say, that's a weird choice because most desks are wood and it's probably for a reason. I was like, this is so phenomenal. Such a good find. Good job, me. I got it like at Martin's. It literally exploded. It shattered. I was like, tighten, and was like, bam, there was a huge loud sound. And I just stood there in shock. And of course, the thoughts going through my head were like, well, now I don't have my perfect desk. Can I possibly start a podcast? And as I just started doing what one can only do when their desk has shattered into a million pieces, I started like sweeping it up and vacuuming it. And I'm pretty sure I'm like sitting in a few shards right now. It just is like the type of glass that I don't think you'll ever remove completely from a space. But I'm literally sitting next to a desk right now that has no top to it. You could just drop your mug straight through it. It would crash on the floor. But I have gotten through some of those just by taking a few steps. I've gotten past some of those insecurities, or just kind of like punched them in the face. Like, I'm just like, you're not even real. Like, you don't need a lot to start a podcast. You have a concept. You have an able body. You have a mic. Like, let's rock and roll. So when it says we follow our dreams with true joy, I would say clinging to that true joy is so important, because otherwise the little like, well, why not? Or the insecurities, or the it's not good enough, or right, like all those doubts flood in so hard. But remember why. Like I used to always tell my basketball team, your why has to be bigger than your why not. Like if you're playing basketball because your mom wants you to, as soon as you're having to run those line sets, like your mom's not running those. So, you're not going to do something hard if your why isn't bigger than your why not. And to me, that's that true joy. Like I wanted to do this because I'm excited about it. It brings me joy. It's something I think is important. It's just this like a little burning in my heart that I've wanted to do for a long time and share with other people. And it does. It feels a little bit risky, feels a little bit vulnerable. You're afraid of rejection. But like those all can just go find a home somewhere else. Because my heart is filled with true joy. Or that's what someone with enthusiasm would say. It doesn't mean, we don't have to. To me, it's like these qualities, they come and go, right? It sort of ebbs and flows. So it's not the last time I'm going to have to overcome insecurity, certainly, but I'm here for it. I'm here to do the work. Okay. And then the cool thing I love about these cards on the back is it says the practice of the virtues. So the practice of enthusiasm. I am excited about my life. I do things wholeheartedly. I am inspired by simple things. I put love and joy into what I do. I smile, laugh, and have a good sense of humor, and I have a positive spirit. I am thankful for the gift of enthusiasm. It makes life simply wonderful. And that's really honestly what I hope that this podcast brings to people's lives. Like I hope this can be a place that you go for a little pick-me-up. I certainly don't want it to ever, feel like, oh man, like I'm not doing enough, not good enough. No, you are. Like that's like, come here so I can pump you up, build you up. Or you might be like, well, at least I'm doing better than her. To be honest, that's why I've done a lot of things in life. When I pursued stand-up comedy, I remember I went to a comedy club and was just feeling like I could never do it. And then someone had probably the worst set of their life. And I was like, thank you. At least I can do that. And it turns out that life goes on after you have bad sets and it's no big deal. So yeah, I hope that this becomes a space. I would love if people like email in their personal experiences of growth or victories in some of these. Like if you have something to share about the practice of enthusiasm or somewhere you're like, feel like you're struggling a little bit, like maybe there's a scenario that you're like, how would I find enthusiasm? Like I have this event coming up or I have this thing coming up. It's really hard. How do I find enthusiasm? We can like talk it out. Like treat me like your friend. And yeah, to me, it's like, I appreciate anything anyone's willing to share. That's hilarious. I really am like not into clothes at all, but I would appreciate what you are wearing, but also what you're willing to share. I just think it's a huge privilege when people do open up and share their heart. And so know that anything you share will be treated as such. If you do send something in and you don't want it shared and you just want to share it with me, I love it. Just say that you don't want it to be shared or anonymously. Great. But I think it's connecting on our humanity. It's our humanity that connects us. And I think just sharing our struggles like demystifies it. Like sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, I can't, like no one else is possibly going through this. And then you share it and everyone's like, oh my gosh, me too. And then, very quickly, it's just like a point of connection and something that we can lift each other up with. So that's kind of how an episode will go. Any like fun segments, eventually, like I just think there will be a routineness to some of it and then also an organicness to some of it because it is about improving. And so any way I can improve the show or things I get excited about, I hope to share. And I just think it's going to be a really fun time. And then of course, the biggest thing, in all honesty, one of my struggles with doing this was I don't want this to just be an end all be all dead end. I really hope that this encourages you to apply it in your life and start having conversations with your friends. Like I would love if this somehow like took life, was life-giving and started being applied in different, wherever you are. I hope people listen all over. We'll probably start small, but just kind of think of it like we're sending out sparks in the world and just being those little like sparks of light for each other. And so, yeah, I hope that if I was to have a call to action, if that's a thing, I know it's a thing. I don't know if it applies here, but yeah, it's a call to action that it's just take what works for you. And I think it's honestly, the call to action is probably like a little bit of mindfulness of like, how can I apply this virtue for this week? Or choose your own, right? It doesn't just because that's the one I choose to highlight, it doesn't have to be that one. But I would encourage you to just, kind of hone in on these virtues and flex your soul a little bit and just be a little bit intentional. And again, I would love to hear any growth that you have. I just think that's really exciting. And I love getting excited for other people's accomplishments. So, and remember, even the dullest thing can be fun. And I am so down to take it. So don't ever be like, oof, I don't think what I'm sharing is important enough. It totally is. And I want to hear it. So that being said, you can email me at themostimprovedshow@gmail.com. So just all one thing, all lowercase, themostimprovedshow@gmail.com. I've never received mail there, so I'd be so excited. So thank you for joining me on my first episode of Most Improved. It is with great enthusiasm that I am going to post this. And I think if I could tease the next episode, I think it's got to be truthfulness. There's a quote from the Baha'i writings that truthfulness is the foundation of all human virtues. And so I just kind of feel like got to get that foundation right. That way we brick by brick, we just keep adding all these different virtues, but I don't know. The foundation feels important. So stay tuned for the next episode on truthfulness. Thank you again for listening. My name is Carly, and I'll see you next time.